Okay, well, thank you for joining us on today's Ask the Mayor program. We have two special guests that are going to join us today from the Douglas County School System. So please stay tuned. Well, thank you for joining us on today's Ask the Mayor program. We have a very special guest with us today, Mr. Don Remillard, who is the superintendent of the Douglas County School System. Thank you for joining us on the Ask the Mayor program.
I'm glad to. My pleasure. Thank you, Mayor.
Well, I know you've got a big job, an extremely big job, and you've been with the Douglas County School System, I know, for a number of years. I wonder if you could just take a few minutes and tell our audience what the role of the superintendent is with respect to education in Douglas County.
Well, I'd be happy to. Of course, the superintendent manages the school system. The local board of education, who are elected officials, set the policy for the school district. It's the superintendent's job to work with staff to enforce those policies and maintain the day-to-day operations of the school system. I've been school superintendent for 5.5 years now, and I've been in the school district for 37 as a teacher and a school administrator and central office administrator.
So you've seen a lot of changes in Douglas
County.
County.
I've seen a lot of changes in Douglas County, yes, sir.
How many students were in the school system, just approximately? I'm trying to remember, 36 years ago. That's an awful long time, and the complexion of our community is much different today than it was many, many years ago. I remember, of course I'm dating myself, we only had one grocery store back in those days.
Oh, yeah.
And I assume that the school system was very similar. I didn't have a child in the school system then, but
It was. When I came to Douglas County, we had one high school. We have 4 now, and the 5th high school is under construction. I'd guess we probably had 9,000 or 10,000 students system-wide at the time, and we're almost at 25,000 now.
25,000 students each year.
That's correct, yeah.
And that's one of the issues that you have to deal with each year, is the uncertainty of how many new students that you're going to have, isn't it?
Oh, it really is, and we plan for that. We budget for additional students, but we don't necessarily hire the extra teachers until we're sure the students have shown up. We went through unprecedented growth in the last several years until last year we began to see the slowdown a little bit, and again this year, I think because of the housing crisis and those kinds of things, our student enrollment has slowed down, but we're still growing a little bit.
So your enrollment, although the housing and the economy was down this year, your enrollment still was larger this year than it was the previous year.
Yes, it is. Mm-hmm. Sure
We know one of the things I've noticed, Mr. Remillard, is just last week I was in the school at Holly Springs doing apples for teachers. Mm-hmm. And I know you're chairman of the board's a member of Rotary, and he's very familiar with that, but it's where we go into the school and just give the teachers an apple to show them their appreciation. But one of the things that I noticed during that process was the number of trailers which are outside the school. Just seemed like to me it was a smaller number than we had the previous year when I was there.
Well, it is at Holly Springs, but system-wide we still have a number of trailers. We ordered some additional trailers over the summer to accommodate our enrollment, particularly in the high schools. But with our building program, eventually we hope to get out of trailers. Well,
and your building program is certainly, you're to be commended, you and your board, for that, because I've been to some of your dedications and fortunately have an opportunity to go into some of the schools, and you have really built some very, very nice schools.
Well, thank you. We appreciate it. We work hard on trying to get the best bang for our buck and to build facilities that'll last for decades and decades and be good stewards of the taxpayers' money.
And they are. They're quality buildings. And one thing I noticed, and I kind of relate it to what we're requiring in the city now, is additional building standards and better buildings and better homes. And I've noticed that in the school systems. I mean, those are those are buildings we can all be proud of.
Well, they are, and what a lot of people don't see is all the energy conservation measures that we have in those buildings. When classrooms are empty, the lights go out. When someone walks in the room, they automatically come on. We've got state-of-the-art HVAC equipment in there, and the cost for heating and cooling our newer buildings is much less than it is some of the older buildings, and we're real proud of that.
See, and I didn't know that. That's one of the things as a visitor you wouldn't notice in the school, but I bet your bottom line you notice it.
Oh yeah, we do.
Well, your board, the school board, of course, is an elected board, and the superintendent is appointed by that board, I assume.
Right.
And one of the things that we all have to do in our community, of course, is work together for the common good of the community. But as a school board and as a superintendent, how do you do that, and what's your role?
Well, our philosophy, and when I say I mean our school board and myself, is to have a collaborative working relationship with all the local governments. We think it's in the best interest of all the citizens of Douglas County for the school system and the city government and the county government and law enforcement and court system to all work together. So that's just part of our day-to-day work, is to keep good working relationships with each other. We have a reciprocal agreement with the city and the county for use of our facilities for the recreation basketball program, for example, and then we're able to use the city and county park for some softball and baseball. So it's a great working relationship between the two that benefits both of us.
Well, I can tell you from the years that I've been involved with the city government, I feel like it's been a very, very good working relationship. It's always a pleasure to deal with you and to deal with your board of directors. They're always so accommodating when we have special needs or things that we need to do, and I certainly appreciate that.
Well, we appreciate it as well, and I think it's important that you keep an open dialogue, and we've been able to do that with you and your staff and with the county government and their staff, and of course we're very fortunate to have the high quality law enforcement. The city police have been great for us. The school resource officers from the city are tremendous and a great asset to our school system, and I know they make our students and their parents and our staff members feel much safer at school just by their presence.
Sure, they do, and you know, I have an opportunity to go into some of the schools occasionally, and I can tell you, I get to do a lot of things, Don. But going to the school systems is going into the school is one of the things I enjoy the most, because, you know, if you ask a question there, the children are going to tell you the real answer.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'll give you an example of that. A few years ago, one of the civics classes at Chapel Hill High School, they invited me to come, and I think they got several different classes, and talk to them about government. And I think these were 11th and 12th graders, I believe. And I thought, well, you know, these guys probably don't want to hear me talk about government, you know, and they may go to sleep while I'm giving their, and so I had a little presentation, a PowerPoint presentation, and since it was several classes, they brought them into the auditorium because, you know, one classroom would have been very full. So I went through the presentation I had for them, and I noticed as I was looking out into the audience, some of the students had some newspapers, and they kind of had them folded over, and you know, I thought that was a little unusual, but maybe they'd been studying something in class. But when I got through, I went to a Q&A session and took some questions. And what happened was the students had the newspapers, and they would read something I had said in the newspaper or been quoted in the newspaper, and then they'd say, "Why did you do that?" or "Tell me about this," or something. So they were keenly aware of what is going on in our city, and they had their newspaper to document that, and they were interested in what was going on. And that doesn't just happen. It doesn't just happen. So.
No, we work hard at it, but I think most adults underestimate how bright our young people are and how in tune they are with what's happening. So I'm delighted you told me that. That makes me feel great.
They are. They were very in tune. As a matter of fact, I had to really rack my brain there a couple of times to think back on those various issues that we were dealing with, because some of the articles, you know, were a couple of months old.
Yeah.
One of the things that happens every year in the school system is you select a teacher of the year.
Oh yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that program? And I know you've had some remarkable people there.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked me. I think this community ought to be proud at the high quality teachers we have. We've got some incredible people. Each year as we select our teachers of the year from each school, invariably they say to me, I wonder why I was chosen. We've got so many teachers in our school that I think are better than I am. And I think that's a testament to the quality of the staff that we have. But I always tell them, you were the one selected, so I think you're underestimating yourself. The teachers of the year for each school are selected late in the spring by their peers. And I don't think there's a greater honor than to be recognized by your peers for the job that you've done. Once selected, we meet with those teachers and they have to fill out a lengthy application form that's provided by the state for the State Teacher of the Year competition. They have all summer to work on that. They turn it back into us in the fall. And we put together a committee of former teachers of the year and members of our community who are non-educators to select our teachers of the year each year. They review all those applications and they narrow it down to the top 2 at each level. So we select 2 teachers from the elementary level, 2 teachers from the middle school level, and 2 teachers from the high school level, and they are our semi-finalists for Teacher of the Year. I pay a visit to their schools, bring them a balloon bouquet, and announce to them at school in front of their colleagues and their students that they've been selected as a semi-finalist. It's a great honor. From there, this committee, usually 7, 8, or 9 people, actually visit each of those 6 classrooms and watch the teachers teach. And then within a week or so afterwards, those teachers come in individually for an interview with that committee, pretty extensive interview. After the interviews are over, then the committee narrows it down to the finalists for each level, 1 elementary, 1 middle, and 1 high. We don't announce that until our celebration, which is in October of each year. And then from the 3 finalists, we select the Teacher of the Year. This year's elementary Teacher of the Year was Sheila Nesbitt from Holly Springs Elementary School. Our middle school Teacher of the Year was Myron Terry from Factory Shoals Middle School, and our high school Teacher of the Year, a young man named Jonathan Cook, who was an economics teacher at Chapel Hill High School. The selection for the overall Teacher of the Year this year was Myron Terry from Factory Shoals Middle School, and he'll be a great representative for our school system, and he'll move on into the state competition for State Teacher of the Year.
So he's the representative for Douglas County in its entirety.
That's correct.
And then there's state competition after that?
There are state and national competitions. There's 180 school districts, one for each of the 159 counties, and then there's some independent city school districts within Georgia. So many of those school districts have never had a teacher selected for the State Teacher of the Year. We proudly have 2. A number of years ago, Gene Williams was selected as Teacher of the Year. At that time, Gene was a Spanish teacher at Douglas County High School. Today, Gene's the principal at Beulah Elementary School. And then a couple of years ago, Pam Walker, who's a science teacher at Alexander High School, served as Teacher of the Year. So we're quite fortunate to have 2 Teachers of the Year still working for our school system.
Well, I think that's it just proves the kind of quality that you have.
Oh, you're absolutely
with
right.
respect to teachers in our school system. Yeah. And that, as a result, equates to the education that our students are able to receive.
Oh, you're absolutely right. It's a great school system and a great place to go to school.
Well, Mr. Remillard, I know one of the things that the school system does, you have a large number of employees in the school system and a relatively high payroll, I'm sure, compared to businesses. If you look at businesses, yours, if it was a business, and it really is, when you think about it, you're in the business of teaching students.
That's
and
right.
Thank goodness
That's
that you
right.
are. But do you have an idea of the financial and the economic impact that the school system has on Douglas County with respect to payroll dollars and those kind of things?
Well, we're by far the largest employer in Douglas County. We've got somewhere in the neighborhood of 3,300 employees. Some are part-time, most are full-time, and most live here in Douglas County or nearby and shop and eat and spend money in Douglas County. So I think it's great for our economy. And the other thing I'd like to mention, if you don't
Sure.
mind, and it really talks about the quality of our staff, but also talks about supporting the community. We've selected two major charities to support each year, the United Way and Relay for Life. We do our United Way campaign early in the fall every year. We've just finished our campaign, and the employees of Douglas County Schools have donated over $167,000 this year to United Way. And in fact, 21 of our employees are leadership givers, which means they gave at least $1,000 to United Way this year, and we're extremely proud of that. Our other selected charity, the Relay for Life, takes place in the spring. It's a great community event.
Absolutely.
Always hosted at one of our high schools. The last couple years it's been at Chapel Hill High School, and it'll be there again this year. Last year the school district contributed almost $141,000 to the Relay for Life in an effort to fight cancer, and I'm told that was about 70% of all the money collected came from the school system. So, you know, we're real proud of that.
Well, and you should be. I mean, it just shows that the school system continues to give to our community, not only in our public schools, but outside of our public schools. And we appreciate everything that you do and everything that those who work for the school system do. And thank you for joining me on today's program.
Thank you, Mayor.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure for me as well.
Please stay tuned for the next segment of Ask the Mayor. We have a very, very special guest that I know that you're going to enjoy seeing and hearing from. So please stay with us.
Hello, my name is Don Remillard, and I'm Superintendent of Schools for the Douglas County School System. We're here this evening to celebrate our Teachers of the Year and to select the overall Teacher of the Year for the Douglas County School System.
We're very excited to be honoring 30 outstanding teachers in the Douglas County School System. Each of these teachers was selected by their staff to represent them in this annual event.
This evening, we'll be honoring the best of the best.
Hi, my name is Sheila Nesbitt. I'm a first grade teacher at Holly Springs Elementary.
I teach at Lithia Springs High School. I work with seniors and juniors.
I'm Lisa Golden, and I'm the media specialist at Villarp Elementary. I've been teaching in Douglas County for 15 years.
Good afternoon, this is Myron Terry from Factory Shoals Middle School. Just enjoying the festivities. Wow, this is such an honor.
I'm Sharon English from Chestnut Log Middle School.
Hi, my name is Jonathan Cook. I'm a Teacher of the Year for Chapel Hill High School. This is my poster. These are the things that are valuable to me.
And I believe that the Media Center should be the most active, productive, and wonderful classroom in the school.
And I'm excited to be here. I know it's a great honor for my colleagues to have selected me.
Now, the thing that I enjoy about my group is that at the end of the day, I see them being very successful.
I love my job, and I'm very, very honored to be here today.
Take a look at my poster here. I have things that are most important to me. I have my family, my MVPs here, my sons, Nicholas, Makai, and Malik, and my family here with my beautiful wife, Tasha, me riding a motorcycle, me doing what I enjoy to do most, and that's teaching, and here with my team of teachers. And this is my extended family here, the Factory Shoals Knights.
Douglas County to have incredible teachers working for us in all of our schools.
Well, welcome back to today's Ask the Mayor program. As I said earlier, we have a very special guest who has joined us today, and that is Mr. Ed Murray. Ed, thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
Ed is the chairman of the school board and has a long and distinguished career that we want to, from the city of Douglasville, we want to say thank you for everything that you've done for our school system and for our children.
Thank you, and I would like to say thank you for the cooperation you as mayor has given this school board, and we deeply appreciate it.
Well, it's certainly been my pleasure. I have always enjoyed working with you, and I look forward to continuing that. And I know you're planning to retire, and I'm envious, let me tell you that. I wonder if you could look back on your career as chairman of the school board, and what are some of the significant changes you've seen during the time that you've served the citizens of Douglas County?
Well, let me say first that I am retiring after 12 years serving on this board. 10 of those years as chairman and 1 as vice chairman. And I just feel it's time to step down and let someone else take that slot. And as far as changes, there are quite a few changes that I really feel proud of. During my tenure, we have a growth of enrollment of around 8,000 students. And we have built 11 new schools. We have a middle school and an elementary under construction right now that will open next August. And also, we've already broken ground and for a new high school. So those are things that we were proactive in purchasing the land and having these nice buildings for our students. And the other thing that we have added is the International Baccalaureate program at Douglas High School. And also another thing that I feel proud of is the Performance Learning Center. It's a program to assist high school students to graduate. And last, we have, as you know, at our Rotary meeting today, Dr. Skip Sullivan was talking about this joint venture that the school system has with West Central Technical College and the Chamber of Commerce, which is called the CCI. It's College and Career Institute. And we feel very strongly about that to help our dropout rate. And another thing that I feel proud of, that we will have in every high school now a junior ROTC program.
I didn't know that.
Yes. We just added that to Chapel Hill. It'll be the Navy. So we'll have all 4 branches.
Is that right?
Yes.
So you have a different branch
yes.
in each school?
Right. And then I'm very happy that we have been able to add art and music back into all of our elementary schools.
Now that was something that was cut out of the state funding, that, and that's one of the issues that I know you deal with every year, are funding cuts that seem to have came more frequently than we'd like from the state level, but still you have the unpredictability of not knowing how many students you're going to have to serve. And I can tell you from my perspective in looking at what you and your board and the school system has done under some really tough times. I mean, the times that you've led the Douglas County school system and the board of directors, and you look back on your career, you've certainly got a tremendous number of things to be proud of. And these schools that you built will live for many, many, many years. And those things don't just happen overnight. You know, you don't just wake up one morning and say, well, I think I'm going to build a new school today. It takes, I know it takes a lot of work and a lot of planning to do that. And you have led under some very difficult times, and we thank you for the great job that you've done during that time.
Well, thank you for those kind remarks. I appreciate it.
Well, as we close today's program, I'd certainly like to thank both of you gentlemen for joining me today and for all that you do each and every day. And are there any closing comments that you'd like to tell our audience before we close out today?
Well, I'd just like to say, Mayor, that we pledge our continued support working with you, and we know we can count on you and your staff to work with us as we go forward in the future. So thank you for all you've done for us.
And we'll certainly do that.
And I would like to close by saying we really deeply appreciate you working together with us.
Well, you're very welcome. And thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure, Mayor.
And thank you for being with us on today's Ask the Mayor program.
From the Army's Quartermaster Center and School in Fort Lee, Virginia.
Are you ready for this? Beautiful.
Featuring music by the Taste Buds.
It can't get more better.
Now serving up the best meals, military style.
Woo! Come on, give me some.
The Grill Sergeants.
Oh, yeah. That's it.
Beginning with alignment. If everybody would kind of come stand right in here. Now, I kind of freehand took a paint gun, so you'll have to forgive me that I'm not exactly where I'm trying to aim. I was trying to take this line and run this line directly at that white flag. It's a little bit to the right of it. So this line represents what we call a target line. It's the line that runs from the golf ball to the target. The line over here, forget this line exists for the time being. This is like a railroad track. Target line is the outer rail. Body line is the line that's parallel to it. The body line is comprised of your feet, your knees, your hips, your shoulders, and your eyes. All 5 body parts should be parallel to the target line at address. I was giving a lesson to a guy who's been playing golf for 30 years yesterday. He's standing up there trying to get his shoulders aimed directly at that target. When he does that, in actuality, he's aimed 10 yards, 5-10 yards right of the target. So what he's doing then, he's aimed incorrectly. He's got to correct a fault with a fault. He's got to make a swing that's going to bring the club back over here so it goes towards the target, even though his shoulders are going over there. So this perception thing is very, very important, that you understand that whenever you hit a golf ball, you're standing parallel to the line that goes towards the target.
Disaster victims need your help today. Throughout the United States, disasters are destroying homes and devastating lives. You can help victims of disasters by supporting the American Red Cross Disaster Relief Fund. This fund enables the Red Cross to provide shelter, food, counseling, and other assistance to victims of disasters. To find out how you can help, call 1-800-HELP-NOW or visit redcross.org today.
Personal foul? Inactive activities on a glorious day.
Huh?
Let's get out there and play!
Sweet.
Ooh,
freeze!
When do I get to be in? Uh-oh.
Hey, Reggie, frozen people can't talk.
P-L-A.
An hour a day.
I'm in. There are lots of great play ideas online, but don't stay too long.
Be a player.